Hey everybody, welcome back to our assembly language tutorial on RISC-V. In this section, we're going to take a brief tour of PlatformIO, and the reason we want to do that is because it's going to prove very critical, and I want to have you understand what PlatformIO is doing for you as we go through this. So in the last tutorial, we installed the extension for PlatformIO, and this one here, I'm going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough without going through every single feature. We'll see some of that as we go through the tutorial. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code. PlatformIO, this is sort of the main screen. Now, one of the things here, you see there's an account button, and I would suggest that you think about having an account and it automatically recognize me and log me in because I have an account at PlatformIO. And when you first register, you'll get access to a number of extra features and capabilities, and so I really strongly suggest you get your own account. Really, let's go to the board section, because while we're going to be doing our project on RISC-V assembly, the important thing to remember is PlatformIO is not just about RISC-V. In fact, PlatformIO, as you can see here on the top on the Board Explorer, supports 552 different boards at the time of this video, and the team keeps adding new boards. And so the RISC-V Hi-5 1 board is just one of those over 500 boards that are supported. But on top of that, you can see that there's a set of platforms that are also supported. So for example, the ST Micro 32, the Espressive, the 8266, and the Espressive 32 down here, all the Atmel AVR and Atmel SAM, or the ARM-based boards from Atmel. All that stuff is supported, and you can just look for almost any board you can think of. Again, list of platforms here. I went through some of these. You can see RISC-V, which is the one we're going to be using, is there, right? Now, these are the ones that I currently have installed on my system. If we look at, you can see there's a whole bunch of other platforms, and you can choose to basically pick one and say, I want to install, and it tells you how it's going to use that. Now, the interesting thing with PlatformIO is that you actually don't really have to install these ahead of time, because as you go through the compile and build of your firmware that you want to download to your microcontroller, PlatformIO will figure out what you need and actually I'll install it for you. So if you haven't installed something right away, it's all good. And also similarly for the libraries, and you can see that there's a large number of libraries that are already supported and part of PlatformIO. Again, you can install some of these ahead of time if you want to, or you can have PlatformIO figure it out for you. The other thing I want to do is I want to go to the platformio.org website just so you can actually see a little bit. So what's there, and encourage you to kind of go there. So you can see here PlatformIO open source ecosystem for the IoT development. There's 28 platforms, 550 boards, lots of frameworks, loads of examples, lots of libraries. So this is incredible, because that way, rather than have to use a different tool for every board out there that you might want to do some development for, this gives you one tool, all boards, and you just pick a different target. There's a whole bunch of features around, obviously a visual IDE, and do some rapid development, and then a library registry so you can do all of your dependency management and a dependency manager through all of that. So you can see that there's a whole bunch of different processors and boards that are supported. You're going to see some of this GUI stuff as we go through. And as I said, Visual Studio Code works on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and so as a consequence, PlatformIO runs on all of those platforms, on all of those operating systems, I should say, as well. And so you can do all that. If you actually want to use the command line version of PlatformIO, then you can really expand your capabilities there as well. So you can check out some of the other things. There's the missing library manager to manage all of your dependencies. All of that's done for you, and the build really is automated. You're really going to see how well this works. And I really like this kind of single source code, multiple platforms, and we'll show you a little bit about how that works. Now, the other thing I want to kind of point you through, because this is just a broad overview at this point, is this thing called the user guide. So let's go to the user guide. Very complete, very detailed. A lot of times I find myself asking questions where if I just kind of took a quick scan through the user guide, I would have found everything that I needed in order to do that. So one of the things I want to point out is this cloud and desktop IDE. So we're using Visual Studio Code, but as you can see, PlatformIO integrates into a whole number of different IDEs. I'm using Visual Studio Code because there's a tighter integration and there's more features like the debugger, the Git source code integration, and all of those kinds of capabilities. They're just more complete with VS Code, and so that's why I kind of wanted to use that. You'll also see we're going to be using advanced features such as the unified debugger. We're not going to use the remote or the unit testing. I'll let you kind of figure some of that stuff out, but we will be using the debugger just so we can walk through our code. So that's it. I wanted to give you this brief overview of PlatformIO because I wanted you to understand it plugs into anything, it develops for any board, manages all of your libraries, runs on any operating system, and you can see that you don't have to worry about, do I have the right tool chain? Is it loaded? Do I have the latest version? All of that stuff is managed for you through PlatformIO.